So we'll get right into things with you because we actually had we had Howie Hawkins on the show yesterday. So it turns out this was a green week for me, where I'm talking to all the different green candidates. And the first thing that we brought up that I think is a great place to start is, of course, the Green New Deal, which now the idea of the Green New Deal is a common discussion in our politics. That wasn't the case until very recently. That is the case thanks to the Green Party. They've really pushed that for a long time now. So where are you at personally as far as your platform is concerned? Do you just embrace the same Green New Deal as the Howie Hawkins campaign, or is yours different? And if so, how?
I'm very supportive of the Green New Deal. However, it has to be pointed out to your listeners especially that when one says Green New Deal, there are actually Green New Deals, plural. It seems that everyone has their own version of it.
Sure.
We know the Democrats have their own version, which is very much watered down. When we talk about the Green New Deal, we have to focus on what exactly is affecting our environment the most. If you are offering a version of the Green New Deal that only focuses on, let's say, electrical utilities, such as home usage, then you're cutting out a massive source of carbon emission, which would be transportation. And I think the great part about the Green New Deal that our party offers as a whole is that it is very comprehensive, that it targets every aspect of carbon emissions and pollution to move us towards 100% renewable energy, while also providing for millions of jobs that will be a part of this mass mobilization. So I would say that in terms of my perspective on those issues, I would say that most candidates agree on including that as a part of the package. Our campaign, however, sees the Green New Deal as a part of a much larger environmental plan, which we call the Green Path Forward. We believe very strongly that you cannot solve the climate change problems and the environmental crises that we're facing by simply doing what happens between New Jersey and California. And this is unfortunately a very typical response in American politics. The idea that if we change or reshape something happening within our borders, it will change the entire world. There's something optimistic to be said about that, but it is also very American in its tendency to cut the rest of the world out. So what do we need to focus on in order to solve the environmental crises that we're facing? First and foremost, we need to have a diplomatic realignment. Many of the countries that are at the top of the list of carbon emissions are countries that, let's be frank, we're trained to hate. China, Russia. We've had strained relations with Iran for quite some time, and they're in the top 20 of carbon emissions. Unless we reshape and realign our diplomacy, which is a part of our campaign's larger plan to achieve peace internationally, it's going to be tough for us to be able to sit down at a table together and resolve the international climate change issues.
So you kind of draw a connection between world diplomacy and the Green New Deal.
Absolutely.
And then do you also draw the connection to jobs? Like, are you for a federal jobs guarantee?
Absolutely. I'm for guaranteed employment. I'm also for ensuring that workers have a living wage. And of course, living in Southern California, that's going to differ depending on which part of the country that you're living in. People are talking about $15 an hour. That is not going to cut it in Southern California. Good luck with that, even just barely making the rent. And so we need to have workers say in terms of cost of living adjustments and living wage. That's an important part of our platform, empowering communities and local control. But to expand a little further on the Green Path Forward, we believe there are multiple environmental crises that we're facing. Yes, carbon emissions coming from transportation, coming from utilities, of course, that's a major issue. But we have to recognize the fact that we have an aggressive and rapacious agricultural industry that is also contributing negatively to climate change, that we have to reach peak meat by 2030 in order to make sure we have a decline in meat production and consumption because of that negative contribution to climate change, which is significant. We also have to ensure that we are ramping down plastic production and use and switching over to biodegradables where needed, because plastics from beginning to end throughout the entire life cycle are a major part of carbon emissions. And so what our campaign is about the big picture. we're not going to focus on just one piece of the environmental crisis we're facing, because it is multifaceted and it's affecting every part of the world. We must have a global approach to this, and we must recognize how it connects to every other aspect of our agenda, like spokes on a wheel. We just talked about workers' rights. We talked about living wages and jobs guarantees. These issues are all connected.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news